Hello friends, welcome to my channel Learning with C. Here I would be uploading many educational videos for students on various subjects in the field of commerce and management. Well, let me introduce myself to you all in brief. I have a PhD in finance and I have several years of work experience in corporate and academics in the areas of business and financial research. I'm here to share with you all conceptual and practical knowledge on various topics of interest to students at all levels from CBSE 11th, 12th to graduation and post-graduation level. This video is on Introduction to Macroeconomics for beginners, especially students of 11th standard CBSE. The study of economics is divided into two categories: macroeconomics and microeconomics. Whereas you all know what microeconomics is. It is the study of demand and supply of goods and services at individual, household, or business level and their decision making. The field of macroeconomics looks at these decisions at levels of economy, that is, at the levels of countries and governments. We will look at these differences in both macro and microeconomics in detail in the coming slides. Let us first deep dive into the meaning of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is the study of behavior of the whole economy. It is concerned with the determination of the broad aggregates of the economy, particularly aggregates of demand and supplies. Now the question that comes to mind is, what is an aggregate demand and what is an aggregate supply? In brief, aggregate demand is the macroeconomic term that expresses the total demand for goods and services at any given price level in a given period. In simple terms, aggregate demand is the sum total of the amount of consumer spending, private investments, government spending, and the net of exports and imports. I will explain each of these components in much more detail in my upcoming video. But as of now, just understand that economic demand is a demand for goods and services at a particular level of price in a given period of time. Whereas aggregate supply is the total output, also known as production. It is a total supply of goods and services produced within an economy at a given price in a given period. It is represented by aggregate supply curve, which explains the relationship between price levels and the quantity of output that the firms are willing to provide. The third point is the welfare of the residents. Macroeconomics deals with the welfare of the residents of a country. That means those macro factors that impacts all the individuals, firms and institutions that resides in a country. Now let me give you an example to explain what it means. Let's take inflation. Inflation means the rise in the price of a particular commodity. Example, petrol. The rise in the price of petrol would not only impact individuals who would need it to run the vehicle, but would indirectly impact many other sectors of the economy, like chemical industry, which uses it as an ingredient in its products, or travel industry, because the rise in the price of air tickets, railway tickets would directly be impacted by the rise in the petrol price, or the online industry, which depends on transport and logistics. Like the prices of products sold on Amazon, Flipkart, they will rise in price. So to say, the attempt of macroeconomics is to study the interrelationship and the interdependence of these variables operating in the economy to understand how to make policies and introduce changes to control these factors like inflation for the welfare of the residents of the economy. This is generally taken care of by the government and financial institutions like the RBI. The fourth point deals with the various economic factors like GDP, unemployment, interest rate, balance of payment positions that is encompassed by the study of macroeconomics. Let's move on to the next slide that explains the difference between macro and microeconomics in detail. Difference between macro and microeconomics. The first point is scope and scale of study. In microeconomics, the economic behavior is studied at individual or consumer level. In case of macroeconomics, it is studied at economic level, that is, at the level of country. Second point, economic variables in case of microeconomics are consumer demand and supply, whereas in case of macroeconomics, it is aggregate demand and aggregate supply. I have already explained aggregate demand and supply in the previous slide. The decision maker or agents in case of microeconomics are individuals, that is household or firms. Whereas in case of macroeconomics, these are government and statutory institutions that are the decision makers. Variable impact. Here the impact is on individual firm, whereas in macroeconomics, the impacts happen at a large scale, at the level of economy. Different set of assumptions. Different set of assumption means, for example, total output and employment. In case of microeconomics, the total output and employment is taken constant while studying the relationship between price and demand. On the other hand, same output and employment are variable factors in macroeconomics. The last difference is the study of price equilibrium. In microeconomics, general equilibrium method is used, whereas in macroeconomics, partial equilibrium method is used. At this point, I won't go in much detail to explain what these two methods are, but would give you an idea here what it is. Partial equilibrium refers to equilibrium in one market, assuming that there is no change in the other market. And general equilibrium refers to the method of studying equilibrium in different markets simultaneously. These key differences that I just listed down changes the way of approaching economic situations. Microeconomics does consider how macroeconomic forces impacts the world, but it also focuses on how those factors would impact individual firms or industry. Whereas at macroeconomic level, these are explained at economy at large, such as national income, output, consumption, unemployment, savings, investment, international trade. Macroeconomics relies on the models that explains the aggregate economic indicators, like like GDP, like price indices, like unemployment, etc. Let us move on to the next slide now. This slide speaks about scope and significance of macroeconomics. Following variables, that is macroeconomic variables, explain how and why studying macroeconomics is of utmost importance. First, GDP. GDP is also known as gross domestic product. It is the total monetary value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific time period. As a broad measure of overall domestic production, it functions as a comprehensive scorecard of a given country's economic health. Second, employment. Employment is a very useful measure. Employment explains the economic situation in which all the available labor resources are being used in an efficient way possible. Full employment embodies the highest amount of skilled and unskilled labor that can be used or employed within an economy at a given time. Third, money supply. In simple terms, money supply refers to the amount of cash or currency that is currently circulating in an economy. Fourth, inflation. Inflation means the decline of purchasing power of any currency over time. Inflation estimates the increase in the average price level of a basket of selected goods and services in an economy over some period of time. It is expressed as percentage. It means a unit of currency effectively buys less than it did in the prior periods. I will give you an example. Let's say petrol prices. 10 years back, 1 liter of petrol sold for Rs 50. Today, same 1 liter of petrol is selling at 100. It means you are paying more for 1 liter of same unit you were paying 10 years back. So the value of the currency has declined. The purchasing power has declined. Point number 5. Trade and balance of payment. The balance of payment is a statement that explains the transactions made between entities in one country and the rest of the world over a period of time, let's say a year. It explains the surplus or deficit situation for a country. 6th point is foreign exchange rate. In finance, an exchange rate or a forex rate between two currencies is the rate at which one currency will be exchanged for another. It is also regarded as the value of one country's currency in terms of the other. For example, 1 US dollar is equal to approximately 74 Indian rupees, which means you can buy, if you want to buy 1 US dollar today, you have to pay 74 Indian rupees. 7th point is government policy. Government policies play a major role in shaping the economic scenario of any country. All the economic variables are interlinked with each other, and changes in government policies impact all of the agents in some or the other way. So it is very important to study macroeconomics because we need to understand the impact of government policies. The last point is economic growth and prosperity. It is this economic growth and prosperity that eventually every country and its residents are interested in, and it is the ultimate goal of studying macroeconomics. That is, how to increase the economic growth or prosperity of its citizens. Let's move on to the next slide. So in my upcoming video, I'll be talking about following concepts of macroeconomics in detail: classification of goods, concept of consumption expenditure, concept of investment, sectors of economy, and circular flow of income. So friends, all that I have shared in this video are useful not only from the point of view of understanding the concept of macroeconomics, but also from the point of view of writing exams. Please like, share, and subscribe my channel, and I'll be posting more useful videos and notes here. If you like me to talk on any specific topic, please write in the comment section and I will try to incorporate it in my next videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.